Hello, a very good evening to you all, and many thanks for joining us here on Rwanda Television. We hope you had yourselves a very restful and fruitful day. Now, top of our edition tonight, these are our headlines. Serge Bramertz, the chief prosecutor of the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals, noted that the arrest of the most wanted genocide fugitive is another step towards providing justice to the survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi. On Thursday, the Ministry of Public Service and Labor, the Ministry of Health, and the Rwanda Biomedical Center and the Rwanda Social Service Board launched the Workplace Wellness Program. Glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa. My name is Martina Abera. Now, on Thursday at Urugwiro village, President Paul Kagame received the Foreign Affairs Minister of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba, who delivered a message on behalf of President Volodymyr Zelensky. They discussed the war in Ukraine and ways to support peace initiatives to end this conflict. President Paul Kagame also received a delegation of students and faculty members from the Wharton School of Business, University of Pennsylvania, led by Professor Catherine Klein, the Vice Dean for Social Impact and a Professor of Management, and Eric Kaku, a member of the Wharton Executive Board for Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. They discussed Rwanda's recovery and economic transformation in the last 2.5 decades. Moving on Thursday afternoon, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Dr. Vincent Biruta, held a bilateral meeting with Dmytro Kuleba, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, who is in Rwanda for a one-day visit. The two ministers signed a memorandum of understanding on political consultations between Rwanda and Ukraine. In the morning, Dr. Biruta had received a courtesy call from heads of the Diplomatic Mission Group of the Southern African Development Community, also known as CADC, led by His Excellency Eduardo Octavio, the ambassador of Angola to Rwanda. The group is made of Angola, DRC, Mozambique, South Africa, and Tanzania, as well as Zimbabwe. Now, Serge Bramertz, who is the chief prosecutor of the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals, noted that the arrest of the most wanted genocide fugitive is another step towards providing justice to the survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi. Fulgence Kayishema, who is accused of orchestrating the killings of the more than 2,000 Tutsi refugees at Nyanje Catholic Church during the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. Fulgence was captured on Wednesday in a joint operation between the South African authorities and UN investigators, as he have been in the country since 2001 on the run. Serge Bramertz told RBA that the International Residual Mechanism of Criminal Tribunals will continue to search for all other fugitives of the genocide against the Tutsi who are still hiding in different countries.
It was very much thanks to the support we were receiving from the South African authorities. They had put in place a task force of 20 people from all operational services, police, military, intelligence, but also from the Director of Public Prosecutions. And, we collected a lot of information in relation to persons of interest. And we had initially a larger net of persons of interest, and then we zoomed in over the last persons. And then yesterday morning, search operations were taking place in the house of one of the family members, where we really found key information about his location. We took a number of statements, we had interviews, and at the end of the day, this led to locating his place of hiding. Together with the police, my team went to this place, and he was arrested in the late afternoon. He first denied to be Kayishema, but we found enough documents on him with names of family members to really confront him with this information. And at the end of the day, he accepted.
Then, long time ago, South Africa was said to not be incorporated with the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals, especially in such a cooperation of arresting genocide against Tutsi fugitives. Then, how can you explain this joint cooperation with South Africa and the UN investigators as well?
As I just explained, We really had a breakthrough last year in April when the president decided to put in place a task force. We worked very well with them, and this has been very instrumental in this success.
Now, there are still other 3 remaining most wanted Rwandan genocide against Tutsi fugitives across the globe. Can we hope that those remaining suspects will be arrested through that cooperation with other countries?
There are still cases ongoing in Belgium and France and elsewhere. And we are encouraging countries around the world to prosecute themselves or to transfer fugitives to Kigali, because what we have seen is that many of those fugitives are hiding among refugees, are hiding there with fake identities, which was the case for Kaishima, who had different identities from Burundi, from Malawi, from Eswatini. He was being in refugee procedures under different names in different countries at the same time, which shows that very many of the fugitives obviously are hiding among the refugee communities.
Thank you, Adam Squizera, for that interview. Now, survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi from Nyanje in the district of Ngororero say that Fulgence Kayishema played a major role in the killing of more than 2,000 Tutsi who had sought refuge at Nyanje Catholic Church. Shina Teta has more.
Jean Bosco Safari, a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, whose wife, 2 children, and more than 20 people from his entire family were killed, speaking to RBA, says that Fulgence Kayishema played a big role in the killing of the Tutsi who had sought refuge at Nyanje Catholic Church and in the commune of Kivumu, now as Nyanje sector in Ngororero district.
He was my neighbor and teacher before genocide. He would beat his students horribly, and more than that, if there were Tutsi students. His role in the genocide started in 1990. Him and the burgomaster carried out meetings, and we thought it was to see how to get us back to our homes, yet they had made a list of people to kill. We were worried because he did horrible things.
On 16th April this year, during the 29th commemoration of the victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi that occurred in Nyanje, the Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, Dr. Jean Damascene Bizimana, announced that Fulgence Kayishema was in South Africa and would be soon arrested.
Fulgence Kayishema is among the 4 genocide fugitives that were sought by the International Court of Justice. We know where he is, in South Africa, and he will soon be arrested.
Fulgence Kayishema was on Thursday arrested in South Africa, where he lived, and in various memorial sites all around the district of Karongi show many documents that indicate his role in the killings done in different parts. Shina Teta, RTV News.
Thank you, Shina, for that report. On Thursday, the Ministry of Public Service and Labour, the Ministry of Health, and the Rwanda Biomedical Center and the Rwanda Social Service Board launched the Workplace Wellness Program following. This comes after RBC's 2022 survey revealed that 44% of office workers are obese. Jessica Agasaro with more.
Some workers declare that their daily work earns them a living.
I am a blacksmith and welder. Blacksmithing and welding help me feed my family. I have a wife and 3 children. In the coming days, I plan to find a place to build a house here in Kigali City.
According to the Ministry of Public Service and Labour, the number of accidents at work increased from 754 in 2017/2018 to 1,487 in 2022/2023. It is at a time when the RSSB announced that the money given to those who have lost the ability to work due to illness or accident at work has increased from 264 million in the year of 2017 to 2018 to 768 million in the year of 2022/2023. The launch program of work wellness will last for 3 years. Some of the things that will be taken care of include looking after the health of workers and preventing them from accident at work, preventing them from diseases, helping them to have a good health at work, working in a safe environment, and avoiding the use of chemicals that might affect them. Non-communicable diseases division manager at RBC, Dr. François Ouinyindi, states that the place where people work and spend long hours often leads to health problems depending on the way they work or where they work. One of the common problems of the office workers who spend a lot of time sitting is obesity, which is at 44%, and this can be the cause of other diseases.
Fat that comes from the abdomen is something that increases the risk of diabetes. When fat becomes too much, sometimes it gets stuck in the arteries and the blood does not flow properly. You find that a person has a stroke or the heart stops due to obesity. There are some cancers that come from obesity. Sitting too much makes them not exercise. They go to eat bad food, which contains a lot of fat. They work too much and come home late. They are stressed. In all companies, there's a law that says there should be a health safety committee at work. As consultants, we are going to use them to build our capacity, including diagnosis.
The Director General of the Rwanda Social Security Board, Regis Rugemanshuro, declares that if the workers' health and safety are not properly taken care of, the cost will be high and it will not be possible to prevent these effects.
If a person has a job that makes them sit for 6 or 8 hours, if they are sick, it is more expensive to call a person who has a chronic disease than to have a chair at work to protect his back. Dialysis or kidney replacement is more expensive than if you had prevented these problems. The money is used to treat those problems for the rest of their lives, which prevents people from continuing to suffer. If there's a prevention, we'll have different results.
According to the Ministry of Public Service and Labor, the report of the poor working condition of the workers and the problem they faced during the year increased at the rate of 14.2%. The Ministry of Public Service and Labor, Rwanyindo Kairangwa Famfan, reiterates that when the health of the workers is not taken care of, the productivity of their work will also be slow. We can't say that we have a developing countries when we still have workers who continue to get sick and suffer from physical diseases, especially non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, workers who cannot work when they are sick, they might even die. Prevention is what we want to inculcate in employers and workers, in particular, not wanting for an accident to happen, but preventing it. The Ministry of Public Service and Labor blames employers who do not comply with the Health and Safety at Work Act and state that there are penalties related to the provision of the Act. According to the Ministry of Public Service and Labor, workers who come to the forefront of having problems at work, including industrial workers, workers in electricity, gas, water, constructing and mining. Jessica Agasaro, RwandaTV News.
Experts in valuation of property from the East African community point out that the use of technology while providing these services will help to improve and speed up service provision in the member countries of the EAC. Olive Nente with more.
These property valuers from the member countries of the East African community discussed on ways to improve service provision in this industry. According to John Mugisha, the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Real Property Valuers in Rwanda, this technology has been initiated to improve service delivery.
Ku bijyanye na artificial intelligence twebwe twatangiye kubikoresha.
This is a technology that we started using because we have a system that collects information from other government systems, especially in the land system, which gives us information in two categories, namely the first information and the information related to the property owners, to see if we are really going to go forward with the valuation of the property. We closely examine the property and see the names of the owner and also measurements. The second thing we look at is to check if the land has been sold, how much it has been sold, because it determines the value based on the current price data. And the other thing we check is if the land transfer has been done.
These experts believe that working together and discussing the use of technology in valuation of property is one of the ways to assist in the development of member countries of EAC.
Want to bring all the countries of East Africa together. Is there a way we can work along the lines of the East African community? How can we make the business to be done with ease, the ease of business? How can we have standards in valuation which are applicable in our common area? Can they be common in other countries here so that any member who is working in any of the regions, any of the countries here in East Africa, they can come and practice also here?
According to Esperance Mukamana, the Director General of the National Land Authority, this technology is the answer in terms of providing services to residents and improving the country's economy as a whole. It will help a lot in the way we provide services to citizens and also to buyers and sellers of property in different ways. Technology-based systems facilitates everything. In our country, because we have improved in terms of providing land services, there are other countries that have come here to learn from us. Now we provide land titles with the help of technology. A person requests a service and gets the land title on the phone without having to go to the sector or elsewhere. Rwanda is recognized as an advanced country in this technology, where the program to provide land titles with the help of technology has been officially launched in Rwanda in January 2023. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Thank you, Olive Nete, for that report. The Rwanda Correctional Service has initiated construction works of houses meant to accommodate inmates that are about to complete their prison sentences, with a capacity to accommodate 500 female inmates scheduled to be offered trainings by April next year. Shinateta with more.
The law established in 2022 that determines service provision of Rwanda Correctional Service also determines its responsibilities that include reintegration of inmates, preparing them to transition back into the Rwandan society as reformed citizens, which is the reason behind the construction of those houses, as narrated by the Commissioner General of Rwanda Correctional Services, Juvenal Marizamunda.
People should understand that inmates from correctional centers are not taboos. They have violated laws, and the country has set discipline standards to help them become reformed citizens.
Trainings that will be offered to inmates in the being constructed institution include civic education and vocational trainings as preparation to transition back into society. Alfred Gasana, the Minister of Interior, agrees that such institutions are essential in all parts of Rwanda in order to reduce the likelihood of recidivism.
Crimes are due to many reasons, including ineffective correctional services, family conflicts, based on property and uniqueness between inmates and their families. These centers come in as a solution where inmates will be assisted in transitioning back into society.
Construction works in general will cost 4 billion Rwandan francs, and the first phase to be built in Rwamagana district on 8 hectares of land is expected to be complete in next year, 2024, and it will cost more than 1 billion Rwandan francs with capacity to accommodate 2,500 inmates from the districts of Rwamagana, Bugesera, Nyagatare, and Ngoma. Shinateta, RTV News.
Now, during the celebration of the African Liberation Day, it was pointed out that everyone should contribute to the vision of Africa so that it can achieve its goals. This year's theme was about acceleration of the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Olive Nete with more on the story.
In 2018, that's when the African Continental Free Trade Area was established. One of its primary goals was to promote trade between African countries and to reduce the costs of moving goods from one country to another within the continent. However, some of the cross-border traders say that there are still hindrances to the betterment of this program.
There are still obstacles such as infrastructures. Other countries have trains that are electric, that assist in transportation and is less expensive. They also have airplanes specifically for cargo. But we also appreciate the government of Rwanda for Rwanda that now has cargo as well. It is assisting us in development. Another obstacle is roads, because we still have roads that are not well built. And let's say if we have stuff to transport to Central Africa, I have to do that through Dar es Salaam port, and that is really hard.
All of these issues were reflected during the 60th anniversary of the liberation of Africa. According to Prote Musoni, the chairperson of the Pan-African Movement, Rwanda chapter, everyone's contribution is needed for Africa to achieve its goals.
We have to cooperate in business, politics, so that we can be one voice that aims for the development and benefits of the black people on the international arena. Ambassador Sezibera emphasized on it. We do not want a Rwanda that is made by others. Instead, as Rwandans, we should put it in the same way for Africa. The Africa we want will not be made by others. Instead, will be made by Africans with a new mindset, a mindset that builds the Africa we need.
The Minister of Trade and Industry, Dr. Jean Chrysostome Ngabitsinze, notes that progress has been made despite the fact that there is much ahead to accomplish.
It is true, but we are trying to find funds to carry it out so that it can even cross and be in as many countries as possible, because the infrastructures currently available aren't enough. But currently in Rwanda, we have a fund that will support business projects across Africa, which will support projects that we invest in various infrastructures. And we believe that in upcoming days, countries will be financially reliant to do cross-border businesses. For example, airplanes during transportation, we do still have obstacles. As it was mentioned, sometimes you are required to pass in Europe or Asia to get to a fellow African country. But we want people to know that the African continent free trade area is bigger and can go beyond Africa and make Africa reach further, because the 60th liberation and independence we talk about has to include development in trade, since we're still behind in terms of trade.
In the Vision 2063 of having a prosperous Africa, it is expected that this market will increase the level of investment and create new jobs for a big number of Africans.
Thank you, Olibnete, for that report. Now, on Thursday, the LLP East Africa launched the East Africa Common Market, Common Services and Goods scan of 2022-2023 in Kigali. The report analyzes various challenges as well as policies in place in member states of the implementation of the EAC Common Market. One of the challenges the private sector faces in their business journey across East Africa community include the harmonization of standards that is not yet considered as elaborated by Philip Ngarambe, who is the Chief Operations Officer at the AC Group, a business originating in Rwanda and aiming to expand its market to other African countries.
This is what I was earlier indicating, was saying that the work as a Rwandan, I am happy, but as an East African citizen, a lot more has to be done. I mean, a number of them from harmonization of standard bureaus. Let's say where you have a case where your business has been able to prove the concept in one member state, shouldn't be hard for me to be able to move into other member states once that proof of concept has been secured, especially on a government level. I gave an example where I said one of the member states where we've tried to launch, where it has taken us almost close to 2 years to be able to even access a license, to be able to operate. Even myself, just to even get a permit to operate as an employee within the company that you set up becomes very hard.
Dr. Henry Onolia of the ALP East Africa and a legal firm that presented the report demonstrates that even if there are challenges but policies imposed by countries like Rwanda, if aligned also in other countries, this would fasten the implementation of the common market for the EAC.
For Rwanda specifically, as we pointed out, they have been progressive in terms of getting people to create opportunities for investment, especially the capital markets and securities exchange in Rwanda, that you can quickly invest. And usually the best way to leverage people to invest is to offer them incentives. About this kind is that we inform the partner states that this is what you're doing, good on certain points. We may need to cut back on certain things, the restrictions, because the whole purpose of the Common Market Protocol is to limit, reduce those restrictions, to ease movement of goods, ease credit.
Now, the EAC Common Market Services and Goods scan of 2022-2023 was conducted in 5 East African Community member states, namely Rwanda, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and South Sudan. And on that note, we would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. My name is Martina Abera. Have a safe night and good night.